Hey,
Howdy, folks.
look
Sorry
at
about that.
that. Yeah, so the real lesson is don't update to Windows 11 because that is what the problem was.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a downgrade from Windows 10. I'm kind of disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and if you use things that auto pick up a default mic, it will, at least in my case, switch your default mic to nothing. So there's that, I guess. But we're on.
We're here.
We're here.
Finally, we made it. Hey, better late than never, right?
By the way, I am engaged. I'm trying to pull something up.
No worries, no worries. I hope everyone's doing well today. It's kind of an interesting day weather-wise. Kind of a potent setup today for severe weather. Started a little bit later than the last few ones have. Yeah, I feel like usually by this point in the last few severe weather days, we've gotten storms that have at least popped up a little early, but not seeing anything at the moment. Um, we'll say, by the way, if you guys hear a leaf blower in the background, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about that. They decided right now is the best time to leaf blow because it's 76 degrees out here in State College, which is the warmest we've been in months. So everyone's kind of taking advantage of it for sure. Oh, now they're cutting the grass too. We're getting a double punch today. Oh boy.
All right, I give up. I swear we're professionals.
At heart.
Sometimes.
You know what?
At
It
heart,
doesn't
we're
matter. It
professionals at
doesn't
heart.
matter.
But no, welcome. We're glad to be coming back to you all. We do have minor apology. We're going to get a guest on today, and unfortunately, schedule wise, it didn't work out. So it's going to be just us two today, but that's okay. We're going to get
You
her
know,
on
hopefully
eventually.
you guys like us enough to stick around. Sorry about that.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so we got a really like interesting day today, and also obviously we got to talk about there's your gardening friend again.
I swear they do this on purpose. They look in the back door and see a computer on, and well, she's gonna come back around too. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 31st outbreak, which is, I'm sure, what everybody's interested in. It's kind of a, I don't know if historic's the right word, but it's a major event. I think it's a historic event because I mean,
It, it verified. It verified very well. There's a reason they went high risk for both zones, and I think it was very well warranted.
uh huh. Well, and I guess shoot, let's just not delay and hop right into it. Um, so yeah, one of the interesting things I noticed was just how well the grouping was on where the SPC put the high risk and where they put where they where we actually had like the grouping of tornadoes. So
Yeah, it's really showing how far severe weather forecasting has come in the last 10, 15 years. You probably figure back in even 5 to 10 years ago, the area there at the Ant Circle is probably not even a high risk. It's probably a very large, moderate risk that they kind of just left there because you can't put a high risk over that large an area. But
mhm,
I mean, you probably could, but it definitely our forecasting ability has improved a ton. With that.
mhm. Yeah, this is really impressive because let's see if we go ahead and just pull up the day one. It's like okay, so this grouping and this grouping compared to oh wait, there we go. So yeah, they pretty much nailed where those high risks should be.
Mm-hmm.
If we go even farther back a bit, yeah. So before they had the two high risks, they just kind of had this big, kind of centralized moderate blob.
Yeah.
But I think it was a really good call to have
Oh
the
yeah,
two
for
high
sure.
zones, and obviously it worked out pretty well because this did end up being a pretty intense outbreak, and so having the high risk. Because I know one of the things they shy away from is, oh, do we want to do a high risk because like there's an element of panic involved. You don't want to get people riled up.
Hmm.
But at the same time, how else do you kind of you know convey that this is a really really important event? So
Yeah, it
I
is
think they
tough.
struck a good balance.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think keeping the high risk kind of where they were was definitely the right call rather than doing kind of one of the big one. I think what people need to remember is I always see on almost every single time there's a moderate risk. Everyone's always claiming, "Are they going to update the high risk? It's going to be a high risk. It's going to go high risk today." No, calm down. Like high risk is reserved for events like the 31st. Like
Mm.
not everything needs to be a high risk, just like not everything needs to be an EF5. Like
Yeah.
put the brakes on a little bit.
Well, and the reason we named this episode twin setups, I think, is that what we went with? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think it
We
is.
threw out a lot of names. We weren't really sure, but the reason is because here's today's outlook, and it's I'll leave it on categorical. You can see it's not too dissimilar. It's a little more west. Obviously, not the high risks, but
Yeah, this event's kind of downtrended a little bit in
mhm,
recent days, but at least like just in terms of the visuals of the categorical setups, it's very very similar.
mhm. Well, and kind of the dynamics it takes to get these weird like split.
Hmm.
It's because it's almost like it ejects in two different spots, and the spot in the middle gets a little, but not as much.
Yeah, and I think the warm front is already lifted pretty far north into Iowa, and I think so. What you're getting there is a lot of low level shear with that, but maybe not quite the same amount of instability. But you're also getting forcing from the low itself through there, where down south, in my opinion, is a little bit more of a classic tornado kind of look to it in terms of
Hmm.
just stability. You're getting a little bit more firing off of a dry line slash cold front more than anything. So it's a little bit different setups. But if I want to put money on seeing a tornado, I'd say probably the southern setup. But
Hmm.
one has setups like this have been known to produce pretty significant tornadoes in the past. So,
Hmm. Well, and it is hatched zone too, so that's.
yeah.
But like, so maybe you can answer this for me because I'm not as savvy on some of the dynamics and stuff as you. Why is the hail outlook like entirely focused on the northern half of this split? What's
It's
what's the science
likely
behind that?
likely due to once you get north of the warm front, you're getting into a lot cooler air, and storms become a little bit elevated. So you're probably looking at updrafts that are a little bit cooler overall.
Okay,
Temperature's probably cooler
makes
up there,
sense.
so it lends itself to a little bit more of a hail threat for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think of that. So this is why I always ask you about things because I have no idea.
Even the low level, the shear around that warm front as well can help sustain some upper level mesocyclone a little bit better than some of the southern stuff will.
Well, how do we want to approach this? Do we want to just go straight into the 31st, or
Yeah, why not? I
or
mean,
we can
there's so
start
much.
with today and work backwards? It's up to you.
I feel like the 31st is probably a little more important to cover given everything that happened there,
Okay.
just in case we kind of run out of time there. But yeah, I mean, the 31st was talk about verifying the high risk, like I said. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just the level of just violent tornadoes that were just, really from two cells were kind of the main problem producers there. You had the one in Iowa and then the one down in Arkansas that ended up moving into Tennessee. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that thing was just both of them were just trucking along, especially the Arkansas and the Tennessee one. That thing was just cyclic mesocyclone after cyclic mesocyclone.
Mm-hmm. It just kept recycling over and over
Yeah.
and over. Yeah. Early in the afternoon, I I was kind of I was at work, so I had kind of the work computer set up, but like I was watching pretty much from about 1 p.m. and like first of all, these things are firing off really early in the afternoon, like, and usually you don't expect the early afternoon ones to perform as good. But I mean, these things were firing up 132, and
Yeah,
they were performing just as well. And so it's
the
like
environment was just so primed
it was
for it.
really
The timing of kind of the ejection of the low and trough. There was just there was so much moisture that was sitting across that area, especially down south. That was just didn't really matter when storms were going to pop off. It was good enough.
yeah. Well, and because they popped off early, obviously they had a lot more daytime heating. So it's like it's one of those situations where you hope for a break, but you never really get a break.
Yeah.
Like once once like once they started going off early, it's like okay, this is gonna be one of those days.
Yeah, especially because if you looked at kind of the environment out ahead, even farther to the east, I mean, the environment was just so primed for severe weather that they were just going to keep going. There wasn't going to be. The thing that kind of shocked me also is behind that initial supercell down south, there were a few more that went up through a fairly similar atmosphere to the one that the first one traversed to, um, and kind of worked over a little bit. I was kind of surprised they were able to maintain kind of some of their strength and put down a tornado or two like they were in an environment. I mean, I guess, excuse me, I guess the air off to the south is a little bit pretty clean, especially with that southerly flow continuing to come in, so it kind of minimized that a little bit. But it was definitely interesting to see for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Again, just really, really like you don't want to use the word good to imply that like this horrible catastrophic event was positive, but like it was a good setup in the sense that everything just kind of fell into place for it.
Yeah. For those who don't know, whenever meteorologists and storm chasers refer to something as good or awesome, they're not meaning it in terms of any of the damage that it brings.
Mm-hmm.
In a vacuum, we would love for all this stuff to happen because we love the science behind it so much. We love to see these things because they're so cool to see the atmosphere work the way it does. In a vacuum, you'd love to see this stuff happen over nothing but open fields, but unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And so
Yeah.
typically, you'll see people stop storm chasing the moment a town gets hit, which happened. I saw quite a few people doing that.
And that's the right thing to do, by the way. If you're chasing and like that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Which we kind of talked about last episode, but yeah. So this is the 18Z sounding Little Rock, and
Not a ton of low level cape with that.
yeah, I was noticing that. And I also noticed the shear, decent amount of shear, but yeah, like not too much cape. So that's kind of playing against it in the long run. But
Yeah, I think some of the forcing was essential for getting those storms to go up initially, but you can see there the upper level cape is
yeah,
pretty good. So once you get those updrafts up there, they're gonna keep going.
well, and you're talking about like it needed the forcing to get up to the because low level cape, for those who don't know, is like the available energy for storms to rise up and stuff. And so at the surface, you have a really bad surface level cape, or low level cape, I should say. It takes more forcing, like more of an outside thing acting on it to get it to force up to the point where it will become buoyant. So it's like, well, okay, break it down. What was the external forcing event? Well, it was this really big digging trough that just ripped winds across my area, Southern Plains, Texas. So we had really bad winds that day, kind of like today, kind of like every day. Yay. I'm a little bitter. It's okay. But we had really, really, really bad westerly winds. And that was all like linked to the fact that there's this huge digging trough that's plowing through and it's kind of sloped upward a bit. And so that's acting as a really good forcing mechanism because it forces the air up, or like the little parcels of air. And then, yeah, once it gets past that really bad surface cape, it just take off like a rocket.
Yep. And unfortunately, I mean, it obviously the low level kick got better as the day went on. I'm sure the zero Z sounding would probably show that. So once you get those storms, there was no reason why they would fail. Essentially after that point, and the low level wind shear, there's a low level jet that ended up kicking in that further sustained those mesocyclones as well. It was certainly kind of a classic tornado setup for sure. And it's just a shame that it went through so many kind of metropolitan areas, and especially Little Rock. Some of the video out of Little Rock is just it's something else. That was a violent tornado, and then it kind of went off for another 30 to 40 minutes north of the city. Then it kind of died, and then produced another significant tornado heading into the north side of Memphis, which luckily is mostly kind of farmlands crossing the Mississippi River there. So I don't think there was a ton hit, but there was a fairly significant debris ball signature on radar. And as a matter of fact, the Memphis radar, I need to go back and download that radar data, because that is one of the most amazing radar data from a cyclic supercell handoff from one tornado to another taking over that I've ever seen.
Yeah, we probably could have shown some of that. I didn't think about that. That would have been good to include. But yeah, like he's saying, it just really, textbook is a cliche, but it was a textbook setup. Like it was.
It really was. It really was. And that's before we even get into. That's before we even get into Iowa.
Yeah. That's just kind of this southern half here. But like, like I said, I kind of got in early in the day when stuff was popping up, but like, I don't know. It was interesting to watch everything unfold so predictably. And
yeah.
I use that word really loosely, but like,
no, but it was. I mean, if you look at
it followed the rules.
Yeah, everything kind of went to plan. I will say I was a little surprised, actually. The deviant tornado motion across the southeast was largely similar to storm motion. I was expecting more kind of hard left turns as the tornadoes died. But if you look at the path of all these tornadoes, they're very much just straight southwest, northeast. I mean, these are really well behaved in terms of how tornadoes tend to travel. Storms. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, I'd noticed something kind of similar in that the tracks were pretty much like well on the same like plane, I guess. Like pretty much everybody's going at the same angle to the east northeast. But it was, like you said, there wasn't a lot of offshooting, because that's kind of how some of those end up being. Like some of these big tornado days is you'll see like kind of the lines, the tracks, and then towards the end of their life cycle, they all start to kind of splinter off. So like everybody has kind of a similar initial track, and then they all kind of like, I don't know.
And there's a reason for that. We might need a whole video to get into tornado dynamics on one video, so I won't waste everybody's time explaining that. But there's a reason why.
You can do that one. I'm not good on that kind of stuff. I'm not as knowledgeable.
And then we go from these well-behaved storms there, and you jump up to the north in Iowa, and then you get to whatever the heck that monster was.
Oh yeah.
That storm was something else.
So let's kind of see what we can. Oh, okay.
Our friend Tyler wants to make a knock joke.
All right. We'll oblige it. What's up? Who's there?
Who's there? Who's there, Tyler? I think I already know this. Yep. Okay. I know where this is going. Yep. Owen who?
Oh, your chat's coming in faster than mine. I'm still on the knock.
For those who can't see, Tyler said,
there we go.
Knock, Owen, and Owen who? Owen 4. It's because the Phillies are the only winless team in the MLB right now, and I'm 2 seconds away from putting this jersey on for real and suiting up because I can hit a fastball 89 miles an hour down the road. I can't do that. I would be really late.
He gets so
but regardless,
he gets so worked up over the Phillies.
it's very annoying for a team that's supposed to be competing for a World Series to start off 0-4 and look awful while doing it. Am I going to watch the game tonight, though, and torture myself further as they go 0-5? Absolutely.
Oh, dude.
I'm a fair weather fan.
I'm not invested in sports enough to like brag about it, but I know the Rangers won, so
they look good, man. They look good.
Which, again, not that invested, but from my very cursory knowledge, hasn't been the case for a while. So,
no, they're finally spending money, which is a good thing. Some other teams need that.
Well, they spent all their money on the new stadium instead.
That's true. That's true.
They really didn't need a new stadium. It was nothing wrong with that one. It was very nice, but whatever.
Baseball aside, where were we? The Iowa.
Yes, so I went ahead and pulled up some of these meta-analysis here.
I was going to say the Iowa wedge, but then everyone would have been like, which one? That's how ridiculous that storm was. Did you see, just a quick guess.
No, go ahead.
There may have been 3 tornadoes on the ground at once with that storm.
Really?
3.
I guess I didn't catch that. What happened?
There was a shot, and you can see the main wedge, and then the secondary one. But then out ahead of one of them is a little noodle funnel. It could be an anticyclonic satellite there that was very briefly on the ground, if it was. So that's unheard of. I don't know. I don't recall that's ever happened.
Well, the amount of like satellites and horizontal vertices and like just weird dynamic stuff mixed in with these tornadoes was also very, very bizarre.
We have a photo we'll show later, but the horizontal vortex on the first wedge tornado it's going to be in textbooks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
it was
incredible.
I showed that to my boss, and he was like, "I've never seen anything like that. Like that's just bizarre." And I was like, "Yeah,
yeah."
So he said, back to storms. Visible satellite really shows the SF surface. Oh, duh. I'm tired. Surface and mid-level synoptic features. Okay, well, we can put a pin in the 31st and kind of talk about today a bit because that's a good point.
It is. Like he makes a very good point. He talks about the warm front being very well defined. It is exceedingly well defined.
Yeah.
I mean, out ahead of the warm front, there's just nothing but overcast clouds, and then once you get south of it, it's just straight clear. It's incredible stuff.
Can you see the stream like in real time, or do I need to pull up Discord?
You might need to pull up Discord.
Okay. It shouldn't be that way.
I have a second screen here, so I'm catching it a little bit late, but it'll be fine.
It definitely shouldn't be that way. You should be able to see the stream, but I don't know what I'm doing, so that's why we start every episode with like a 5-minute sound check. And that's why we started this episode with starting and then ending and then starting again, because just it do be that way.
It do be that way sometimes.
All right. You should be able to see it.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So let's just...
I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. Incredible stuff.
We can get a little loop on that. Yeah, so... let's play a game. Where's the warm front?
Yeah, usually it's the opposite. Usually it's spot the cold front.
You do it like it's always spot the cold front. Now it's spot the warm front. Do like a...
It is very impressive.
like a door thing. Like, can you find the warm front? Very good. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Oh, is that some agitated CU I see behind the warm front there too in southern Iowa? I believe it
I
is.
think so.
Is that a storm I see in central Mississippi or Missouri going up? I think it is.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna real quick flash the SPC outlook and the satellite, so you can see pretty clearly. Oh, look at this area here. Wonder what's. Oh, whoops. Oh, no. There we go. So yeah, another little premature in the night, but I think the SPC nailed this one as well. I think we're gonna see the grouping pretty similar to um, their outlook for today. So I think
Yeah, for
as
sure.
as far as the street cred for this season goes, they're
they're
starting
doing
on a
they're
good
doing
foot.
pretty good.
I
They're doing
I
pretty
mean
good.
it sounds like callous, but that's how it is. Like there's always a big push, um, obviously every year to get better and better and better. But sometimes we'll start out a little rough on a year, and it's like, oh, okay, I don't know.
You know,
And
storms don't listen to what people say, so
no,
it's,
they
they're going
don't.
to do whatever they want to do.
Yes, it's
Man, that
it's
warm front is going to. I have to work tomorrow. For those who don't know, and my shift is focusing on Ontario, and this warm front's going to lift and bring a decent amount of freezing rain to them. So it's going to be a not so fun day for me tomorrow.
okay. Are you ready for something embarrassing?
Mm.
This is a condemnation of the public education system. I'm not entirely sure where Ontario is.
Ontario
It's like
essentially
right here,
runs.
right?
No, no, one
No,
over.
one over this one.
That big
Okay,
blob.
man, I
And
don't I don't have I don't have time to learn all the Canadian territories.
yeah, and believe it or not, like 90% of the population lives like south of the Upper Peninsula of
That I
Canada.
believe, because it's just a frigid wasteland
Yeah,
past a
so
certain point.
Toronto is like the holy grail of Canada.
I just like, man, most I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming most people can't like point out random states on a map. So I don't expect most people to, and obviously like we're a little different. Like we have to know geography a bit for our job, but like
Yeah,
I've never cared about Canadian weather. That might that might be mean. I might be in trouble for that, but
it's certainly different. It's different. It's especially out west. The western part of Canada gets a significant amount of tornado warnings in the summer, and it takes a lot less to get a tornado warning and super large hail out there. Um, it's kind of crazy. Actually, as a matter of fact, we'll probably find some good stories out of there for our WX Files segment. They actually do cloud seeding out in
do
Alberta
they
to
really?
try to lower the hail amount.
Oh,
They
that's
do.
weird. I don't know if I like cloud seeding. Actually, I'm pretty sure I don't. Like that's just sketchy. Yeah. I've I have to like the whole time we've been talking about maple syrup Canada land, I've been watching this like slow retreating little segment here, and it's just kind of mesmerized me. This is a
Yeah,
really cool satellite.
it really is. Yeah.
You can see all the stupid southwest wind that's destroying my allergies. But yeah, that's kind of how these two events have played out pretty similarly um, today, and obviously this is has a bit like overall more um, northeast direction to it.
Yeah, for sure.
The 31st was a bit more east northeast, like overall general flow of
Yeah,
it.
storm
But
motions in Iowa's going to be tough today because it really depends on if storms can stay rooted on or south of the warm front to really pose a tornado risk. Once they pass north of the warm front, it's going to be all hail. we get those setups sometimes, or we used to get them when I was there. In Oklahoma City, quite often, you would get lifting warm front, say with a crashing cold front and a dry line, and you would get these storms that would fire off the dry line and move northeast. But then, as they move northeast, they would end up crossing the warm front, and once they cross the warm front, tornado potential goes to nil.
Yeah. And I think that's why when you said earlier you'd have, I guess, more faith in the southern half. I thought that as well on the 31st,
True.
but
Yeah.
the Iowa tornado surprised me quite a bit. I didn't think Iowa would get,
Yeah.
or any
You know
of the
what?
northern half. So I don't know.
Iowa tends to bend logic. Sometimes Iowa just does whatever Iowa wants to do. It's
Iowa is like second place Ohio,
to
maybe, as far as like reality bending
it's something
goes.
else, man. Sometimes Iowa turns into Iowa, and then other times it turns into whatever the 31st was.
Iowa. I've never heard that actually.
There's been a ton of busts up in Iowa through the years, but whenever Iowa hits, it hits.
Interesting. I mean, there you go. It's part of that weird magic northeast charm, I
Like
guess.
it's like Del Rio. Heard of Del Rio's Del Rio Wing?
No.
Del Rio, Texas, down there in the southern part there. The there's a canyon there, and quite oftentimes there'll be a risk up near Fort Worth, Oklahoma. Regardless, you'll get a renegade supercell down there in Del Rio, just dropping 3 to 4 inch hail. Del Rio does whatever Del Rio wants to do.
Interesting. I didn't realize Del Rio was such a robust weather zone.
Supercell, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a Twitter account called Is Del Rio Del Rioing.
that's weird. Shoot, man, we're gonna have to go post up in Del Rio.
I know. If you want some hail, Del Rio is the place apparently.
I will never ever go hail chasing. I hate that. That's so silly.
Sorry, I don't feel like losing my windshield and losing my eyes today.
You know what? If who's the Safe Light, the window people? If Safe Light will repair and replace my window every time I go out, I'll go hail chasing.
Hey, in Florida, you get one free one a year.
Really?
I think it's in Oklahoma too, because of the frequency of hail and hurricanes and whatnot.
Huh.
With your
Interesting.
insurance, you might get it. It might. I think it's based if you're insured in those places, you get
Oh,
one free one.
I sense stonk potential with that.
Uh,
Well, let's see. What do we want to look at? Wait, let me check out base reflectivity on
yeah,
this.
good call.
This
Yeah,
is
that,
this is the Mr. Miss, the multi radar multi sensor. I know that's not the name, but that's how I remember it. I can't. There's way too many acronyms in our
yeah.
field.
So that's the Illinois stuff right now out by Chicago. That stuff was a pretty prolific, large hail, pretty like baseball sized hail and 90-mile-per-hour wind gust earlier. If you look down in central Missouri, we do have some storms starting to pop there.
All right. Yeah, I pulled this up because I was interested in. Since we were already talking about hail, my thinking was. Yeah, so these are going to be. Whoops. So like this first little like branch, I don't know. That's going to be like your kind of round one hail and wind makers and heavy
Yeah,
rain, and that's not where it's going to start. Which is
that's not the
again
threat.
why the 31st was so weird. Is like the 31st just kind of right out of the gate started.
Yeah, it was. You don't really have it. A lot of times, what will happen in these severe setups when you get a warm front pushing through, you get a lot of elevated convection early on that makes everything look kind of grimy. And for typical storm chasing, you're kind of like, oh, it's cloudy outside. How in the world are we going to get any sunlight? And then the warm front passes through, and then it clears out completely.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where
then
did
you
you
get
want
some heating.
in Ohio?
Missouri.
Oh, Missouri.
Missouri.
See, I don't
There
remember
are,
these. Oh wait, I always do the thing in the wrong direction. Ah, This is
Uh, it
this
doesn't look
isn't.
like they're fully showing up yet because we're. Let me see here. Yeah, that's maybe a few minutes away
Yeah,
here. So there's some severe thunderstorms out in across central Missouri at the moment. Looks kind of crappy, for lack of a better word, in terms of structural. Oh, there are hail reports, so let's see what kind of hail is dropping already.
we can check the where was it?
Reports of ping pong ball size hail.
Oh yeah, we can put the ping thing, the ping thing.
The ping thing. M
Uh,
ping.
yeah. Why is it not showing?
It might take a little bit to update on that
Oh,
site.
okay. Yeah. So so we're looking for initiation to kind of probably. I mean, if it's going to get going, it's going to get going. I mean, hopefully, it stalls off a bit, but like if we're going to see anything, it's going to have to get moving. So hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, and then for the southern threat, we're kind of looking for initiation, kind of northwest Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, and then they'll move into a better environment
Hmm.
as they move off to the northeast there. Wouldn't surprise you if we get a tornado, or not tornado, but a supercell. Oh, starting right around maybe Muskogee, Oklahoma. Wouldn't surprise me. Even maybe even a little bit farther, McAllister, perhaps. It's possible you see a storm pop up there.
I'm just thinking because yeah, like it is at least in my area. It's 15 till 3. So,
Still very
there's only
early.
yeah, there's only so much like daytime heating in an afternoon, but I think um, if these kind of get going about now, we should start to see these.
Yeah, you see a convection start in this thread. I haven't looked at. Can you pull up satellite? What does satellite look like across that area? Can you get a little bit more zoomed in there on
I
Oklahoma and Arkansas?
think I can.
Yeah, the regional sectors are sub-regional even.
There we go.
I just want to see. Not a ton. See, there's a lot of upper level cloud there. There is definitely some open sectors there across central Arkansas. Little hesitant, actually. I think the northern target's actually looking perhaps a little bit better. Yeah, you can see how low some of these clouds are. Look at them rippling across the Ozarks there, across
Hmm.
the eastern Oklahoma and
Yeah,
Arkansas.
yeah. Like man, if there's too much of that upper cloud cover, it's not going to get
Yeah, I'm not
as much.
certain how broken that is. If it's more broken, it's not going to pose too big of a threat, but that looks pretty
It looks pretty
significant,
solid,
actually.
man.
Yeah. Uh,
Maybe
you
maybe
could get
they're maybe they're thinner and wispier than we're thinking, but
it's possible for sure. But looking at this, the northern target, man, look at those guys that erupt across central Missouri there. And they're hauling, too. Those things are moving.
let's get a little northeast. Yeah, so they're
Look at those things move, man. They're caught in that upper little pattern. They haven't you can tell they're not rooted. If those are rooted supercells, you'd see them slow down and make a right turn. But those are ejected pretty quickly off with you can see the 850 trough there. Um, just the direction of the flow, they're kind of getting caught in that a little bit.
mhm. maybe maybe let's explain kind of how these kind of layers are and what you mean by rooted. So like so
Yeah,
when you have a no you do it
yes. So rooted. What I mean by that is typically you want it to be surface based. You don't want the inflow of the storm and whatnot to be elevated because when you do that, a lot of times you're not getting the best moisture and even warm air into the storm. You could be getting a little bit more dry air, and it's just a lot harder to get solid mesocyclones that way. Once you get rooted and you're really pulling in air from the lowest levels, you'll see the storm start to really get its act together and slow down. And because of the way it spins and whatnot and the way the inflow works, the storm will make a little bit of a right turn there. So typically, whenever you hear someone say that storm's elevated, you're not looking at a tornado threat with that. You're looking
Mhm.
at potentially wind and hail.
Yeah, and that's why we always want, at least for producing cells, we always want really, really low, really low to the ground, like really low
Yeah.
base
Yeah, we call them
limits.
LCLs, which is the lifted condensation level, and that's just a fancy word for saying how low can clouds form.
And another thing about being rooted and kind of what I was alluding to is you can see kind of like this layer of clouds that's more that's kind of higher up, more scattered, but it's kind of got this like long arcing clockwise kind of motion to it in the sense of like from your like looking straight down, and then
Mm.
these clouds here that are closer to the ground that are kind of moving in sort of a different direction. So like you do want shear for these, like you want that difference in wind direction with height, but for a cell to be rooted like that, you need some kind of general uniform motion because otherwise it kind of gets
You can't get sheared off
yeah
and
it
swept
gets it
drastically
gets
front.
cut
I will
off.
say, looking at that though, like you mentioned, the lower level wind in contrast, man, that northern zone is really looking good to me now. Just looking at that, you can see the straight southerly flow of those lowest level clouds. You can
Hmm.
kind of see it more across Alabama and the Mississippi, or even off into Georgia, which is a little bit displaced from where we're actually looking here in terms of severe weather. What that tells me is there's pretty significant
Yeah.
south and north winds at the lowest level. And like Colin mentioned, the wind's up a little bit because you can see that arcing motion means that they're coming a little bit more out of the west to southwest, which means you're going to get that turning of the air if the storms can get up high enough.
Well, I'm just gonna keep journeying northeast and switch to this sector here.
Yeah, there's still some good southerly flow there.
Hmm. And yeah, you can see them firing up right here. These are
I
the
see that
ones we were looking at earlier.
there's a very good agitated CU field there across southeastern Iowa. You can see what we mean by that is typically before storms go up, you'll see these sheets of cumulus clouds. That cumulus clouds are the start of most storms. Once they start getting a little more vertically stacked, we say they're agitated because they're starting to go up a little bit.
Hmm.
And you can kind of see that there across southeastern Iowa. Those lines of clouds are starting to get. You can see the brighter they get, the taller they're getting. So you can see there's some areas where they're starting to popcorn up a little bit.
Yeah,
Interesting how
there's some real good convection in some of these.
yeah, the elevated stuff was significant hail and wind producers for sure. Surprised the warm front had that much forcing behind it. Oh, hi, you gonna come join?
No?
Come here. Come here. Come say hi. Come here. Come say hi. I know you guys haven't seen her yet, so this is Parcel. She's a little crackhead.
As are all cats.
Yeah.
Long live dogs.
I was more of a dog person, but I like all animals.
Well,
Really.
I'm
I
extremely
would probably
biased
make you go with her.
because I'm allergic to cats for one,
Mm.
and also like my grandma on my dad's side had two very mean, like wild feral cats that she just kept, and they were like really, really, really mean. Like they'd go out of their way to attack you. It was just
Yeah,
it was
cats are.
nuts.
They have a very wide range of temperaments. You can either get one like her who has one brain cell and has no mean bone in her body, or you get mean ones.
Yeah, um, cats are cute. I don't know, man. I had way too many. I had way too many unpleasant encounters with those two cats my grandma had. Like, okay, here's an example. When I say they go out of their way to be mean, they actually like. I remember one time I was just sitting in the living room doing nothing, minding my own business, and it like came in. I watched it walk in the room, walk up to me, scratch the tar out of my leg, and then leave. It's like
Uh,
it's just that kind of stuff. Like I don't know. My dog's never scratched me on purpose. But well, do we want to What do you want to go over now? We can go back to the
Yeah, you want to go over the 30?
31st
Yeah, we can
and
just kind
kind
of
of.
show some of the stuff from there. Um, I mean, look at that. Just that's just such a bowling ball of a low there.
Yeah, and so this, if we kind of think back to earlier, we were talking about how much moisture there is. That's kind of what these green lines are kind of indicating is just how much moisture is coming in from the Gulf to kind of feed these things, and then how like quickly that gets cleared out with all this like forcing
Hmm.
from the sticking trough. And it's like, man, what what a setup as far
Yeah,
as
it really was. I mean, you had once you get into like central eastern Tennessee, the setup was less. Uh, you're getting a little bit too far away from the forcing the best moisture, but back across the western portions of Arkansas and even up into Iowa. I mean, Iowa might have had a little bit of a lack of moisture and whatnot, but man, the forcing because they're so close to that low was what really got those things going.
so this might be a good transitionary question, but do you think because the setup was so classic and kind of well played out, how did we get so many bizarre like manifestations of these tornadoes, like all the horizontal vertices and satellites, and
I'll
like
tell you what, I
how did it
think
get so weird?
once you start playing around with super high shear values, who knows what's going to happen? I think that's really what it is. And I think the low level shear was just that good.
Hmm.
Um, Once you get to that point, it's anyone's game what's going to happen with these tornadoes. And there's a there's so many things that could go into why a tornado is shaped the way it is and whatnot. Um, who knows? Had the ground been 2% drier, maybe they're just large stovepipes instead. I mean, who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, that'd be one of those things we'd have to get somebody who is specifically studying soil moisture on on
Yeah,
supercells. But like, and that's one of the things that's so challenging about a lot of kind of. I feel like we're on the point of like understanding storms now that we understand enough to kind of get a general idea, but like everything past a certain point is just unfathomable in our current state because
mm-hmm.
factors are so like granular.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode. To be able to effectively model all the fine scale things that go into supercells and tornadoes, we don't even have that computing power yet.
Hmm. Well,
It's
and
you would need essentially 10-meter grid spacing on your models, which we don't have
yeah,
that.
that's
That would break every computer.
well, and it's just so many different factors like soil moisture, like you mentioned, like weird microscopic geography stuff like ditches and little rises and little hills and things. It's like all this stuff
Yeah.
just it's so bizarre like to try and wrap your mind around.
Mm-hmm. Do we have a? I'll send you that photo of the horizontal forest. I think we can
Yeah.
pull that up. We've been talking about it so much here.
Yeah, we keep hinting at it. We might as well.
It's
This
something
one?
else, man. Yeah, this is from the Storm Chaser Franny WX. We're not. Uh, it's. I don't
Hmm.
even know how to describe it. I mean, it's that's essentially a tornado on its side around a
Yeah.
tornado.
Yeah,
That's how impressive
it's
that
just
horizontal vortex
bizarre.
is.
So like yeah, so let's see, how do we want to I guess maybe we can start with what causes horizontal vertices or what we think causes them.
When you get super violent tornadoes, you get so much turbulent motion in the air, and when there's that much shear around that kind of structure, you get sort of these horizontal rolls that form, and when they get strong enough, you get them to condensate and form these vortexes around the tornado.
Hmm.
It's It takes a very violent tornado to be able to do that.
And normally it's worth pointing out, normally they don't like wrap around quite like this. Like they
And they're
do
not that solid.
yeah. They're kind of like it's usually like kind of a little wispy dangly bit. But this is intense.
I mean, that's almost like an elephant trunk tornado wrapped around another tornado. That's how intense that is. That's incredible. Like I said, it's going to be in textbooks someday. Someone's going to research that and figure something out about the dynamics of that, and it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, but like it's just trying to understand the dynamics of this is just weird because obviously and it's one of the things about tornado genesis. It's like the whole shifting into the vertical thing. So the idea is like, okay, you have differing wind directions at different heights. That's your shear, and so that creates like a horizontal spinning. Like if you think about if you were to like take your hands like this, it creates like a horizontal spinning, and then
Yeah.
the updraft makes that vertical, so it like bends it. But then you
And you can
have
see here,
go ahead.
yeah, that's essentially what you're seeing here is that horizontal roll, and then you were just talking about the updrafts tilting it. That's essentially what you can see on the right side of this photo is the inflow into the storm and into the tornado is tilting that vortex vertically there.
And it's just weird to think about like you have enough shear to get this like obviously violent tornado into the vertical, and then like another little bit of shear to stay horizontal and
Yeah,
it's
something
weird.
else.
It's so weird.
It really is something else.
But yeah, this was Katoa, Kenoto,
Yeah,
something
somewhere Iowa,
Kyoto,
Kyoto.
Iowa.
Okay.
But yeah, just really bizarre thing. And thank you to Josh for this excellent picture that I hope Will is right ends up in a textbook because this is weird.
It's incredible.
Yeah, we can check out this one too.
Look at that. That's so the twin tornadoes there. Doesn't happen very often where from the same storm you get two areas of spin within the storm that create twin cyclonic tornadoes like that. Both of those ended up being wedges at some point.
Yeah, and there was a lot of cyclical like reproducing where it just kept dropping these, killing them, eating them, dropping new ones. But yeah, that's a really good representation of kind of how all these things tend to come together when you have these like smaller tornadoes off to the side. Because there's well, and like you can see where all the downdraft is. It's really good.
It's very tough to get that because tornadoes have their own environment around them, and the environment around and behind one tornado is not conducive to producing another one. So it is rather rare to get that.
Do we want to look at? I think some of these other ones were probably. Oh yeah, there's the video of
that's the video of that horizontal vortex. It's just
you can almost here turn that off. You can almost see right here another little
little coming off of it.
Power flashes.
That just tells you how much shear is there in the lowest levels. I mean, it was such a
it's
crazy environment.
And we got this one here too.
This is the Little Rock tornado.
Yes, and so it's worth pointing out that, and we've talked about it before, like everything that's east of I-35, you're talking hilly terrain, lots of trees, lots of changes like small
And on
changes
that
in
note,
elevation.
I've heard a lot of people say that you can't get tornadoes over large hills. Then what's happening here?
Yeah, that's just not true.
That's not true. That was a very violent tornado. EF3. Unfortunately, there were casualties
Hmm.
and many injuries reported from this.
Why? There's a guy on the roof. What?
I didn't even notice that the first time.
He's getting good video.
You got the
Oh my
ultimate
God,
shot
he
there.
is. Y'all, that could be my
Yeah, they're talking about him getting that video. But yeah,
Don't
don't do
do
that.
that,
No,
please.
don't do that. No pictures worth your life. Get indoors. Get in your safe
Yes.
place. But yeah, look. So obviously, the motion on this very violent. You can see like just how fast this thing is booking it.
Oh yeah, it was hauling.
Like kind of, and I love to do this. I don't know if anyone else does this, but I love to just go back and forth and get an idea of like just like this little bulging spot on the left here. Like it's just
And look at the rear inflow jet on the surface feeding into that
uh-huh.
clip.
It's they're so fascinating. I don't
Very grungy, typical southeast tornado for sure.
Yeah.
Not the most photogenic.
Yeah, so southeast tornadoes have a weird I don't know if stereotype's the right word, but they have a weird
A penchant for being
yeah.
grungy and nasty. I think it's just
Yeah.
because of the storms down there have more moisture in them, so you get a little bit more rain rat, a little bit lower bases, a little bit more raggedy scud cloud around it.
Yeah.
There's more
They're
ability to
very
do that.
rarely like the big, smooth photogenic like tube tornadoes.
No, there's too much moisture there for that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for our Twitter segment today. But man, like as far as outbreaks go, I think we were debating on the name of this episode, and I'd thrown out historic outbreak, and we didn't go with it. But I still kind of buy that. I still think
It's one of the more impressive producers in the last few years. It didn't pan out in the way I think everybody thought it would earlier in the day. I think a lot of people thought there'd be a multitude of supercells producing a multitude of tornadoes, and there'd be like 30 to 40 tornadoes. That didn't happen. What we did get was 3 or 4 storms that produced very violent long track tornadoes, which verifies the exact same way.
well, and we it was historic at least in the minimum sense of like having two high risk zone.
Yeah, that
That's
doesn't happen.
actually I'd found out, and I think I liked it on our account, but there was somebody mentioned like, hey, this hasn't been we haven't had a double high risk zone since like 2012.
Wow, how about that?
Like that's pretty nuts.
That's something. Yeah.
Yeah, and like again, going back to the reports, like 154 tornado reports, 132
What?
filtered. So it's like
Now that doesn't mean that there were 132
yes,
tornadoes.
yes,
It's
that's
because
important.
there's a lot of storm spotters out there reporting the same tornado over and over again.
But it that's important to mention. But it is nice to see that we're getting more coverage on these, because the ground, like what's going on in the field, is just as important. The people running the radars and making the warnings need to know, hey, is this just radar indicated? Is this like so the whole spotting thing is really important, but like that's still a huge number. That's still a huge number.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. And of course, all started pretty like it didn't start, but like the first major event was Little Rock. And
It's
so,
Oregon. Look, it's kind of off there by itself.
but yeah, that's crazy. Well, let's see. What else do we got? Do we want to go into today anymore, or are we gonna?
I think we covered today pretty thoroughly, actually. Let me see if there's anything else. Let's take a quick gander at radar here. Does look like still severe warned out there in Missouri. It's actually passing very close to the Mizzou Missouri University radar. Oh, those are turning a little bit more supercellular in look. Still pretty messy, but
Okay, I just thought of something. You just brought it up. The poor Little Rock radar.
oh man, that thing was a mile away from losing its life.
That poor Little Rock radar was a mile away from getting hit by that tornado.
It was close. I thought it was gone. I thought it was getting hit. Tornado it stayed just to the south there. I'm sure that the velocity data. It was very tough to get an accurate depiction of how deep the debris ball there was on it because it was so close. You only get up so high on the scans.
I'm trying to see if I can find your tweet on it.
That's the Iowa wedge. Big wedgy boy. There it is.
Yeah.
I mean, look how close that thing was to. The reason there's that ring around the radar site is because the radar beam, is actually too low to detect anything there. So it's just not picking up on anything. That's how close the tornado was. The tornado was that close to being below radar detection.
Uh-huh. Which is just nuts. Like the poor KLZK, like he was sweating bullets that day.
If that thing made any sort of deviant occlusion motion, the radar was gone. If it made any sort of left turn.
Which, and like we talked about, that's not very.
Rare.
It's pretty common for that kind of stuff to happen. It's more rare that it didn't happen.
Yeah,
like, really, generally speaking, in this event. So,
I think that's something that's worth noting. I've seen over the last few years. I remember we were chasing down near Vernon, Texas.
It's always Vernon.
It's always Vernon. Always, that area is like the holy grail of storm chasing for us. But there was a EF3 tornado at night that was tracking and ended up hitting Lockett. And for those of you who remember, it hit Lockett and it threw a storm chasing van into the ditch. That tornado made a left turn as it was dying into the town of Lockett. And I saw a ton of people afterwards saying, "We didn't expect that to happen." Well, there's a reason that those of us who were chasing that decided to stay behind it, because you would have the hook slice to get ahead of it. And hook slicing, it essentially means on radar you have your hook and you have to get through that area where the tornado may be to get out ahead of it. And the road we were on was running parallel to the tornado and then went east. And if the tornado made that left turn, it was going to cross that road. What did it do? It crossed the road. And too many people don't understand that is what happens when tornadoes begin to die. They occlude to the north.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, and I know we've talked about El Reno a lot, but that was one of the things bizarre about El Reno, and one of the reasons why I'm such a big proponent of like staying really far back and like just never taking your eye off it.
Storm, stay 5 to 10 miles to the southeast of any storm.
Because the amount of just weird, erratic behavior that these tornadoes can do is like...
Oh, yeah. There's been plenty of tornadoes that have done loops and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and like we talked about that time, I got stuck in the ditch and it occluded and hooked left, and it was like... you got to be aware. And
yep.
careful with these kind of things. But the not having warning thing, it does bug me a bit when people, and obviously, I feel for them. They're in a very bad situation, and it's tragic. But like, we've come a really long way as far as warnings go. Pretty much, the you know the National Weather Service does a great job issuing warnings. Everybody can get warnings on their phone. Everybody can get live coverage on their phone for free for the most part.
And it is worth noting that there's always going to be people who, whenever a warning is put out, have less warning than others because of the way storms are, right?
Yeah.
You can't simultaneously give someone who's 2 miles away from a tornado the same warning as someone who's 10 miles away. It doesn't happen. And
It's
so
true.
I'm sure there is maybe a little bit of that, and it's unfortunate, but I'm not sure that's something that we're ever going to be able to solve.
Yeah, and until we can just until we make some huge leap in advancement, that's just
You'd
the
have to predict
situation.
tornadoes. You'd have to predict tornadoes before they happen, which is essentially impossible.
But the reason I brought this up is there was some video of someone like, hey, after, I believe it was Little Rock, saying like, yeah, we had no idea this was coming. Well, there's a lot of different ways to get that information and get it out there. And so I guess one of the things I just wanted to really get across is that you've got to be aware.
Absolutely.
You got to know, okay, today's a sketchy day. I'm going to have to keep my phone, charged and turned on and have alerts where I can hear it. Because to not have any warning, we're almost, I'm not going to say we are, but we're almost to the point where you don't, you have so much available to you. Either you should definitely know, or at least be a little more prepared than being completely caught off guard.
Yeah, I think we as a weather community have to do a better job of kind of making those sources of information a little bit more public. And I think trying to how do I want to phrase this?
Yeah,
I think there's, for those who don't know, and this is taking nothing away from these people because many of them do a fantastic job. There are many people on TV who are broadcast meteorologists and don't have a meteorology degree. That's a thing that happens in almost every news market. There are people who don't have a meteorology degree, and many of them still, they have weather certificates or whatnot, and they've taken classes and they know what they're looking at. But I think I'm not a huge proponent of that. I don't want to be mean because many of these people do a fantastic job. But I'm not a proponent of that.
Well, I'll say this. I know several people who are in that situation. I think the experience matters more.
Very true.
To me, the degree doesn't mean anything unless, or it doesn't mean, I don't want to put this. It's important for understanding kind of the whys and hows of things, but in the realm of forecasting, the experience matters so much more.
I think that's the point I was trying to get to actually. Because I'm someone who very vehemently thinks that just because you have a degree in something does not mean you understand it.
Yep.
The experience, like you said, the experience is what really, really matters most.
I mean,
that's how I should have worded it.
Take a look at me. I have a degree and I'm an idiot. So
same here.
But
there's many people that.
There's a lot of people with degrees who are idiots. There's a lot of people without degrees who are geniuses.
Yes, there are people who are supposed to know how to storm chase based on their degrees and still make very poor decisions.
Well, and the thing I was bringing up was I hate it for those people, and I feel really, really bad for them. And I'm not blaming them in any way, but you've got to be aware You've got to be aware because this stuff is really, really dangerous, and so like
Yeah.
you gotta stay in touch with like
And
potential
I
hazard
think,
situations. And yeah, we could definitely do more to get that out there. I think there's a whole big riff in like broadcast and media versus like the actual like SPC and NWS, like the actual prediction side of it,
mm,
where like you got people using their own tornado rating scales, and you got
yeah.
like
And I
we got
think
to get on the same page, just in
there's
general,
a reason
everybody.
why, and I know everyone has thoughts on this, but there's a reason why Ryan Hall on YouTube is so popular with people who live in these areas. I've seen a lot of people in these areas don't tune into their news networks anymore. They turn into him.
Hmm.
And whether that's a good thing or not, there's a reason, right? He's making that information accessible. And I think that's something that we as
Accessible
a
and widely
whole,
public. We got to work on that because
yes.
there was way too many people that are caught off guard by this outbreak. Like we in the weather community, we're like, okay, yeah, something's going down today. We got two high risk zones. You know, be on your toes today.
But
But
what does
like
that mean?
that's my point, right? Like
Yeah.
there's such a rift between like what we know is going on, and then like communicating it to people. And I want to.
I will say
That'd be
there's
cool.
been one of the very obvious downsides to streamers making information public is under every single weather tweet ever now. You see 25,000 at tags of the same person, and it gets rather annoying very quickly.
Yeah, I don't really use Twitter much, so
It's bad.
I'm
It's bad.
thankful I don't.
That happened to one of my tweets one time. I posted a radar screenshot, and I, I immediately muted the tweet because I didn't want to get all those notifications.
That's fair. That's fair. But no, like that's it's a good service, and I hope we can see it kind of expanded on, just because we got so much like information to get out, and I want to see more people
I think that's what storm
utilizing it.
chasing. Storm chasing needs to get back to that. Storm chasing needs to get back to we're out here chasing so we can alert people of these things. Yes, we can get video and whatnot and make money off it too. But if we do that, that's just an added bonus. The primary goal, in my opinion, should be
So what you're saying is
at,
we need to do it for the science and not the money.
I guess so. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I couldn't
I have no,
resist. I couldn't
I have
resist.
no
You
problem. No
can't tee up
problem.
a Twister quote and not
Yeah,
let
I
me
guess
let,
I
let me
lined
let
that
it
up
rip.
perfectly. I have no problem with people making money from
Yeah,
facing.
no, I
The
don't
one that
either. I just yeah.
I did see something that very much annoyed me. That
Oh,
do I want to talk about this? Yeah, I probably should because this person's. I won't say a name. But this is a very maligned person on whether social media.
is it
This
Ben Castle?
no, Ben Castle is never
Ben
maligned
Castle's a
ever.
sweetheart.
um, I think this person's had problems in the past, but I think someone reached out to them. They were in a city that got hit by a tornado, and someone who owned a business in that city reached out to them to see, hey, like, can I get this footage for my insurance?
Hmm.
This person wanted to charge that person like hundreds of dollars for this footage. Like, are you kidding me, dude?
No,
What are we doing? What are we doing here? That's anti everything storm chasing is supposed to be.
man, I'll say like people have gotten so. I like how we ended up doing a hot take segment on
I
accident,
guess so.
but
I
here we
guess
go. We're
so.
going for it. People have gotten so uptight about I got 15 seconds of footage of a tornado on the ground. I'm gonna charge $500 and sell it to ABC or something like.
Yeah.
Man,
What they don't seem to realize
and
is, and
go ahead.
I've seen this posted, like you post something on YouTube or you post something on Twitter or whatnot, right? If your account's public and you post that stuff, that's all for use. Like anybody can use that. That's not you don't
See, I'm not sure the legality on that. Like,
I'm
I should
fairly
I
certain
should
that's
know.
not.
I should know this. I'm in media. I should know this, but no, I don't know this. I always thought it was like if you want to use it, you have to DM them and be like, "Hey, can we use your thing?"
That's the way. Like, if you want to be like correct about it,
Mhm.
yes.
Well,
Typically, yes.
and we try to be very careful on our Twitter segments not to use stuff that people want. Like if it says not for rebroadcasting, we
Of
don't
course,
use
we'll
it.
respect that. We will
Um,
respect that completely.
and we
But if
always,
you post something and don't put a watermark on it, and then don't say like don't republish this, you can't get mad when people republish it. And granted, as long as it like look, yes, people should give you credit for that. Like they should credit you and whatnot. And I'm not saying like this is an aspect of like people um what's the word I'm looking for? Cropping out like watermark stuff. That's bad. Like that's bad. But
yeah.
I saw there was a big argument on Twitter about this a few days ago or a few weeks ago because someone instead of quote tweeting someone's tweet of a photo, they saved the photo, posted the photo, and tagged the person in the tweet. I think. Like, what's the difference? Why are we
Yeah.
up in arms about what's the difference?
Well,
Now, if they just didn't give any credit, that's a different story.
well, and my thing is, and this kind of goes back to the Twister meme about they're in it for the money, not the science. I don't care how you make your money. I don't. I'm pretty libertarian on that. But like when it's I'm trying to be very, very careful here. When it's becomes more about like the attribution and the like trying to get paid off your images, there is a little bit of a disservice done to people who are using this for education. Like, and that's one thing I want to point out. Like when we're doing our Twitter segment, we're not just like, oh, look at this cool thing and then moving on. Like we're talking about kind of the science aspect of it. But like,
And
oh, go
you
ahead.
know what it really comes down to? When everybody tries to make a name for themselves, nobody does. Because you just get this cluttered area of everybody trying to one up each other and trying to say, "Oh, I got the best footage." Well, I got the best footage. How about you just stop and post your damn footage, and everybody else decide who has the best footage? That's how it used to get done.
That's how it used to get done. But like, and I understand it too. Like, man, you know, if your method of if your livelihood is selling pictures, like
It can be competitive. I get that. I get
the
that.
Daily Bugle needs pictures of Spider-Man. Like somebody's got to provide them.
Yeah, I get
Like
it.
I understand. It's just
It's become so hostile.
it's become hostile. That's the key thing I think to take away is everybody's just grumpy. Everybody's grumpy. Everybody needs a chill pill. Big fat
Like
chill pill.
we all chase clouds for a living. Like,
Yeah.
can we really take? How seriously can we really take ourselves?
And like if someone uses your picture, you know, maybe just be nice about it. Like, hey, I was hoping I could get some some attribution from this. Could you at least like link my Twitter account or something? Or like if it, and obviously if they just straight up steal something, don't stand for that.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to make like a nice active community that can relay important information quickly. And if it's like, hey, there's a tornado on the ground in your neighborhood, here's a video of it, get to shelter. Maybe not the
Yeah.
best time to be like, hey, bro, where's my dough? Where's my attribution?
Yeah. By the way, here's $500 for me to tell you exactly where it's at.
Yeah. It's gotten overboard, but
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see a return to more civil exchanges. And we're in the meantime we're going to be very careful about using people's
Yeah.
footage and stuff, but we really do try to be fair about it and positive and happy vibes and whatnot. But Yeah, I think we were going to do it a little shorter today, so we'll probably start to wrap up right now.
Yeah. Sorry to end on that kind of
Yeah, well,
dour
okay.
note.
We'll think of something. Let's
Um,
since we've gone off multiple times on movie breaks. Saw John Wick 4 last night.
it's been forever since I've seen a movie.
Pretty good.
It's John Wick. It can't be bad. It's John Wick.
It wasn't my favorite.
Which one is your favorite one?
First one. First one.
Yeah, the first one it's just
It's so hard to beat. It's so much more grounded. Like, I like the secret assassin society kind of angle, but it really got over the top. I just prefer nice, down to earth, grounded revenge story. We went from like, and this isn't a spoiler, but like we went from like, he's just gonna get back the guys who killed his dog, to like, we gotta like, there's the whole secret society, and we gotta I don't know.
Baba Yaga does what he wants.
The Baba Yaga with a pencil.
I think the best scene in that franchise though is when the Russian dude's kid tells him who he messed with, and the dad like freaks out and smacks the crap out of his
No.
kid.
I think it's the one before that where the chop shop owner.
Oh yeah.
He calls the Russian guy calls him. He's like, "I heard you hit my son." He's like, "I did." He's like, "Why?" He stole a car. Whose car? John Wick.
John Wick.
Oh, it just hangs. That's good, dude.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. No, pretty solid. Pretty solid. It was a good. It was a good part 4. We'll say that.
Did you see their this tells you how desperate Disney is. They're making a live action Moana.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like 3
6,
years old
7
or something, right?
It's like 6, 7 years old. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Dude, we are firmly in the age of the reboot, remake, franchise era. Like
Such a
everything is
shame.
either a cinematic universe franchise, a reboot of an old thing that people loved in the 80s or 90s, or a remake of the thing that people loved in the 80s or 90s with like different cast. It's just it's weird. It's so weird. Come up with new stuff, people. I think that's why John Wick was so successful. Like the first one. It was a pretty novel thing. It's like relatively low budget, kind of not like a career slump, but they got Keanu Reeves hadn't done anything big in a while, and they kind of and like just simple story. Guy wants revenge. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And then there you go. That's kind of what I was talking about. How they kind of got off the rails with just some of the stuff. But
So that comes back to what we talked about in our very first episode about Fast and Furious.
see,
that started as police officer wanting to arrest people for street racing to there's a nuke about to go off and only Vin Diesel can stop it.
only Dwayne the Rock Johnson can lift this 3,000-pound nuclear submarine torpedo and just chuck it or something.
Only the world is going to end, but family can save it.
Oh my gosh. Have you seen the trailer for... Did we talk about this? I know we talked about the Fast and Furious in the first episode. But did we talk about the new trailer? I don't think we did. Did we?
Oh, did we not? I thought we did.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that's our sign to call it. We don't remember what we've done anymore.
Yeah,
that's
I guess
bad.
so. Yes.
We're only 6 episodes in, man.
I know.
We're already repeating content. This is not good.
We've become the people we hate.
Oh no. Not yet. Not entirely. We haven't just played people's video without commentary on
good
Twitch
point.
yet.
You're right.
We haven't done that.
You're right.
Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll break into a new market.
Poggers in the chat.
All right, drop a pog in the chat. Well, my little pog champs, that's all we have for you. That's all we have for you today. Be sure to check out Will's OnlyFans, and we'll see you
good
all
stuff.
next time.
It's just photos of me drinking beer. That's it.
It's photos of him with his dusty hat pointing at clouds,
Doing in various poses.
recreating like Wojaks, like with maybe that's our new market. We break into the recreating memes in dangerous situations. There we go. All right. Thank you all for watching. Please go ahead and check out the social medias if you want to see more stuff from us. Will's always tweeting stuff, and we're going to be trying to be a bit more active on social media these days, so we can connect with you guys. Also, thinking about adding another segment. We got 3 ongoing segments. Our Twitter segment, our WX Files, which is a fun little segment. There's going to be it's from our last episode, but the clip of it is going to be up soon. So if you missed that and you don't want to watch the whole episode, you can check that out. It's pretty fun. So we got the Twitter segment, we got the WX Files, and we have our hot take segment, which we kind of did today unofficially. But thinking of adding another one. Maybe like I don't know, like a meme segment. Maybe like a little meme review.
Weather Twitter is great for memes.
So
you would definitely do that. Just stalk Storm Chaser's next profile.
So if you have weather memes, add us.
Please.
DM them, tag them, do what you got to do. We're gonna collect them. We're gonna rate them. Good memes get thumbs up. Bad memes get.
Maybe we did it. Maybe once we hit a certain subscriber account, we do a meme stream.
Meme stream. We got so many good ideas, and yet we're gonna we're gonna do poggers and stuff first.
Basic, yeah. We're gonna turn the most basic of Twitch streamers. I'm gonna literally turn into Moist Crable, just come on and play my t-shirts. All right, that's it. See ya.
Hey man, maybe we should do a gaming Q&A.
Yeah.
Just hop on a game, just chit chat.
Why not? Yeah.
Maybe.
I'll have to play something other than Call of Duty, or else I'm just gonna get too mad.
You have to play something cross-platform because I'm not a console. I'm a PC king.
Believe it or not, most games now are cross-platform. So.
I know. It's good. I like that. We'll boot up Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, and we'll have a time. It'll be all right. All right. Well, thank you all. We will see you next time.
Yep. See y'all next time.